Hi, AfterBuzzers. Welcome to AfterBuzz TV. You're watching the after show for The Path on Hulu. This is Season 1, Episode 1. It's What the Fire Throws. We're also covering Episode 2, The Era of the Ladder. So join us, and we're going to break down the episode, give us our thoughts, and we're going to share our opinions. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
All right. We're ready to go.
Hey guys, welcome to AfterBuzz TV. This is the AfterBuzz TV after show for The Path on Hulu. New show. You guys, this is the best song that we could come up with right now. we had Miaira. She said this is, the eye of the tiger. We've got the eye in the path. So that's what we're going off with, guys.
Connection.
All right, I'm your host, Susannah Kim. Joining me.
Hi, I'm Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's ZOE Said What. And to my left,
I'm Miaira Jennings. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings.
Perfect. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Susannah_Kim. It's SUSANNAH. All right, getting into a new show on Hulu.
I'm excited.
So, some first thoughts. Let's just say what we thought about the show. What'd you think?
I'm excited. It's a really good cast, and this cast is so well known. They've been in so many things, and it's interesting too. A lot of them have worked together before on various projects.
Yes.
So that's great, and I feel like that must bring some familiarity. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. There were a couple parts that just absolutely creeped me out, and I was going, don't do it, which I know we'll get to. So I'm excited.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm here for Aaron Paul. I love Aaron Paul.
Thank you.
First and foremost, and also I'm just so, like I was telling you guys before, I'm so into the cult, theme of movies and television. So I'm interested to see where the story leads.
Yeah, me too. I thought this was like really gritty and dark. The acting is phenomenal. I love Aaron Paul too. Michelle Monaghan, I love her from True Detective. They're all really great. Hugh Dancy's amazing at that role for Cal. I thought he was perfect for that.
He's great.
So yeah, I think it's really good. We're getting into a great season. I'm really excited. All right, so let's go over kind of like what we just basically were thrown into. Right when they open up, we're in a disaster zone pretty much. What did you guys think was going on?
I don't know. That was weird. Like, I thought it was some kind of apocalyptic, vision.
Right?
I'm like, what's going on? And then you see who we find out to be Mary, I believe it is. She's like crawling through the stuff. So it was weird, but we find out it's a tornado. Aftermath or whatever.
Well, I mentioned to you ladies beforehand, and let me know if any of you guys out there caught this, but at the very beginning of that first episode, I noticed they started giving us guest star names for the credits, and I kept trying to hit rewind because I couldn't figure out where were the names of the cast, so I was like, I must have missed something.
Right, yeah.
And it wouldn't rewind, of course, because it was at the beginning, so I'm just wondering, did anyone else notice that? Because starting with the guest star names threw me for a loop completely, so I had to go back and rewatch that opening part because I was so distracted wondering what had happened to my episode.
I'm watching the right show, right?
I knew the show was right, but I kept looking like, did Hulu skip me ahead? What did Hulu do to me?
I think they put the main actors in the intro, right?
Yes, and the intro was later, but usually you don't get guest star names then until after the intro. So it definitely threw me. I don't know if that happened to anyone else.
Totally missed that. All right. Well, yeah. So we do follow with Mary. Before we start, I forgot this. I kind of wanted to do like a quick little disclaimer. The Path. This is a show about. Easily we can say it's about like a cult, but they keep saying it's a religious movement.
Right.
I actually saw an interview with Aaron Paul and Michelle Monaghan. They're kind of talking about it, and they instantly say it's not a cult. It's a religious movement. They really are trying to get away from like that negative connotation of a cult. I just want to say we are going to be expressing our opinions on religion, on what we think is right and wrong. We don't want to offend anyone. We would love for you guys to share your opinions as well. Please tweet us. Please comment on our video. We want to hear what you think as well. But definitely, if you hear something that might offend you, just know that we're just sharing our opinions, and you're welcome to do the same. Please do.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So back to Mary, like you said, is who we opened up on. Getting into her, what did you guys think of her disposition, her going to the plays? Did you feel like she was kind of open to this, or maybe she might be a little wary about it? What did you think?
I was willing to go with it, but I didn't feel like I was grabbed so much at the beginning. I guess because I knew going in, having seen the trailers for the show, which we all have, like, okay, it's about this quote-unquote cult because it's, a fine movement, whatever, it's a cult. Yeah. And so I kept waiting for that. So I think easing into it this way, I was waiting for the crazy. I mean, honestly, that's what I wanted to see. So I felt like I wanted to get there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think initially Mary is very representative of someone I would think would be the person who's like the epitome of the person who would go into a cult and be kind of sucked into that lifestyle because she's obviously had a rough childhood. I don't know if we're going to get into that in detail later on, so sorry if I'm skipping ahead.
No,
but,
we'll talk all
she's
Mary
had
stuff.
A rough life up to this point, and she seems to be on drugs, right? Is she like suffering with that? And so these are the people that, I don't want to say targeted, but are the people that they reach out to join these groups because those are the people that don't have anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was, that's perfect. She's like, going through a withdrawal, really, and I thought that this really showed why I just want to say cult all the time.
I know.
I feel like it's okay. Let's just
say the group.
I know, whatever. Sorry.
Why these people? Yeah. Why, they would go after it. But I mean, they are targeting, like you said, these, situations where people just don't have anyone else, are struggling. Those are the people that need help, and they're the ones that are, the most pliable, I guess.
But you know what I also felt that wasn't explained enough? Why did these people get into the vans and go with them out of state? I mean, they went far. So I think that stood out to me as a little bit of a plot glitch, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess the point is that they are vulnerable, so they agree to go. But I just needed a little more of why are they going?
So easily.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to just say, okay, tornado, bye, let me
that's
leave.
crazy. I get that. I think maybe the T-shirts.
Right.
That could have been a selling point, in the van with the logo and the T-shirts with logos. Maybe they're like, okay, these people are legit. Let me go and get some help.
They got their stuff together, obviously. They can order a shirt.
Is a t-shirt.
I mean, it's true. But yeah, that did kind of confuse me in the beginning too, because when they all came out in the shirts, I wasn't sure if we were in our regular world, which we are. I find out later. But I wasn't sure if maybe this was like a world, like you said, post-apocalyptic. This was like the new regime or something. Yeah, it definitely seemed a little creepy. But okay, yeah. I mean, I definitely like that Mary's in this like vulnerable state, but then we see her approach Cal, and she was obviously smitten with him from the first get-go. We see her kind of like eyeing him on, in the wreckage. And then what did you think of her, I guess, going to him the first time and, what happened and didn't happen?
Well, I have to say, I didn't see it that she was smitten with him. Okay. I thought it was more that she saw he was the leader and it was the power or going to the top dog, especially because we find out later, and presumably everyone has watched the show who's listening or watching now, so we find out later that her dad has been selling her to his friends. Right. And so I thought it had to do with finding the leader and going to that person and sort of glomming on.
Like a father figure?
Yes, her leader.
Right.
And so I think that's why she went to him.
That's a great
and
point.
Offered herself as well. I didn't think it was that she liked him specifically.
Yeah. I actually like that they put that part in the plot because I think in general, from what I've seen in these cult type situations and stories, and I'm referring to like, Jonestown and things of that nature, we often see the leader being the one who initiates these sexual encounters with the women in the groups. So it was interesting to see that she was the one to kind of step up and offer her body to him instead of, the other way around, and him saying, this is what is necessary to be in the group, or this is what we believe, you should do this, it will help you. So it was interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, he kind of also, like, the way he was talking to her, he was like, we were meant to meet, Did you think that was a little misleading of him to do that? Do you think she might take that in like a, right, yeah. Like maybe she takes it more, personally than he really means to.
But see, I also thought he meant to. I thought it was part of he realizes his power, and I think he realizes his growing power. Yeah. And that's also why at the end I think he takes her because
playing on that.
Yeah. And especially then when he takes her and then says to her, but I want you with this other guy. Go for him. So
oh my God.
He's, like a puppeteer and orchestrating things. And so that's how I saw his behavior more.
Right. Right.
I think, though, he does have a real love and wants to have a real relationship with Sarah. That part, I feel like, is the true part of him.
I agree. I'm very interested to see where that leads, because I feel like there might be mutual feelings from Sarah as well. I honestly do. I think she flirts back a little bit, and that might cause a sticky situation in the future.
I really hope not.
I know.
Well, there was that love triangle, because she does say she chose her husband over him.
That's
so.
I definitely think that's going to come back, and I definitely think he's going to drive some sort of wedge between Sarah and Eddie. I don't want it to,
I know.
but I agree with you guys. I totally think so too. All right, and then let me see, what else do we have on Mary?
Yeah, Mary.
Did you guys think when Cal was beating up Mary's father? How did you think she was reacting? I thought that was a little bit of a hard read. Was she impressed by his taking charge, or was she also horrified by him?
I initially, just right off the bat, I got that she was like, wow, someone's finally going to save me. That's what I got. But, she could have been scared, or she could have felt like, wow, this man really has power, and I really have no choice now but to go along with what they're doing.
I mean, I love the little, between the two of them, because I love when he's like, oh, the ladder's going to help you, you're going to see the light. And in the very beginning, she's like, no, it's not. Yeah. And she's like, no, I'm sorry. So I kind of feel like, I'm hoping later, we might see maybe a little resentment from her that, she feels like, oh, I just got sucked into this thing, and that's not really who I am. So, maybe she'll, I don't know, find her own truth later, and then that causes some issues.
Good point.
I don't know. I'm hoping to see that a little, I guess. Let's see. And then her joining the novices and going out to try to reach out to people. Have you guys ever been approached like that? The way her and Sean, I think it was. They're kind of going out, approaching a sad woman sitting on a bench. Have you guys been in that situation? How did you handle it?
Not that I can remember, honestly.
No?
I haven't been approached, but I remember seeing the Hare Krishnas when I lived in Washington, D.C. when I was younger, all over the Capitol. Yeah, so I remember that, but I've never been specifically approached. And I should say, I know that Hare Krishnas are not considered a cult, so anyone listening who's wondering about that,
disclaimer. No, I mean, being in LA, I guess I work at a restaurant. It's actually right across from the Scientology Center.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they mentioned, I think you mentioned before, how they talked about in the show, they kind of wanted to say real quick, it's not the Scientologists.
Right, yes.
I guess a lot of people were kind of, worried about this touching, wrong button or pressing the wrong buttons or whatever. But anyways, I've definitely been approached by Scientologists. They're actually amazing. The way they talk to you, they're very good at what they do. I mean, they're very influential, and I can totally see how people would buy into this, And in the interview that I saw with Aaron Paul, he was even saying, he was like, everything that they're subscribing to, I believe in it. He was like, I subscribe to all the things they're saying. Who wouldn't want to, get rid of their suffering and their pain and all that? So I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what they do well, is that they know that psychology. I mean, we saw it when they were going up to the woman on the bench and how they were able to draw her in, talking about something personal and touching on that. So it doesn't surprise me that that's what they're good at.
Right. Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, the people that are leading this I would say it's Cal, right?
Right.
And I think Sarah said that he's leading them, while Dr. Stephen
Meyer. Yeah, well, he's supposed to be transcribing the last rungs of the ladder, right? But in reality, he's in a coma, I guess. Is he in a coma?
Something, I don't know.
That's what it seems like. I mean, did you guys get that until they actually showed him in the coma? Did you guys think that that's what was happening?
No.
When I saw the door,
I had no idea. Yes, the door, the whole vision thing, for sure. But I definitely didn't see that coming. That was interesting.
Yeah. And what do you guys think of Cal's, ability to sort of, I guess, turn people, the speeches that he gives, they're so strong. I mean,
yes.
Right? I mean, what was it? Plato, I think, was the story that he gave. What did you guys think of that whole, I mean, it seemed like they were in a seminar, right?
I think that was their church. I think that's what they called the gathering.
The gathering.
Yes,
okay. So that was his, that
was his sermon,
yeah. Okay.
He is so compelling.
Yes.
And I think people like that are so successful at what they do because they know how to strike someone's heartstrings and really pull them in on a personal level. And just adding on to that, I mean, we see that scene of him in the car where he's...
I was going to say,
rehearsing, you know, for lack of better words, his facial expressions and his connection with people. That. So then I'm like, wow, this guy is really like, is this authentic, or is he just trying to put on a front to get more people and to have more power? I loved that moment.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge going forward.
Absolutely. And I feel like that really gives us the question then of how much does he want power?
Right.
Because I feel like there's a big power pull already.
Yeah.
For sure. And we totally see that in the second episode. I mean, so talking about that, I mean, he goes to meet with this guy who is, I guess, he runs a hedge fund. I'm not totally sure what that even means, but he's a rich guy. He's got a gorgeous house, right? He has his wife, and they're wanting to help their son, who I guess has a drug addiction, and they want his help. And he goes to this guy's house. He's totally offended that this guy, you know, isn't subscribing to the cult. Their belief system. Their religious movement.
That he's embarrassed by it.
Exactly. So where do you guys think that's going to go? What kind of problems or issues do you think that'll cause?
I think he's already shown that he's in control of that situation.
Yeah?
As we saw at the end of the episode, when, you know, they're pulling the son out of the house, and he's basically telling him, laying down the law, like, listen, this is what's going to happen. You're going to go out there, you're going to tell people that we saved your son. I don't want your money, but you're going to move that painting to, you know, right above the piano, and you're going to show people that you're really invested in this personally. So I think he's really going to start throwing his weight around and showing people what he can do.
So you don't think they're going to be a problem? They're just going to be more of like an example, maybe?
They could be a problem in the future, but as of now, they're his pawns. For sure.
So I thought they were just sort of guest star in and out. I didn't think we would see them again, but it was interesting because it showed us the divergence now between Sarah's beliefs and his, because Sarah told him, you just have to go with it and realize that curing their son, I guess, or healing him is what's going to change their mind. And now he, flat out not interested. He wants what he wants, and he wants that I prominently displayed. So big difference in the belief system.
And that's true. I mean, getting into that, like the difference between what he thinks is right and what he thinks, oh, this is what Stephen would want, is so different from what she believes. And she was born into this. I mean, I think, did they mention if he was born into it as well?
He wasn't. He came in when he was 5.
Was 5. That's right. Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting to see that, like, you know, she thinks, you know, one thing's the right way, and he sort of wants to start doing his own thing, right? Do you guys think he might sort of try to take on this cult as his own?
Yeah, I think right now we're definitely seeing that his primary focus is not necessarily the message of Miairism, but rather it's spreading the word and showing people what he can do with it. Like we saw, you know, he was interested in doing the interview with the reporter, whereas Sarah was like, no, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Right.
You know, it's not about how loud we can speak or how, you know, far we can reach our message, but it's about helping people that come to us. And he has a different idea about that.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely.
And he ends up proving that that's kind of effective, right? Because he ends up actually doing the interview. He goes on, talks about, you know, finding the light and the path, and it seems like people are buying into it.
I mean, the reporter did. She said, sign me up. So he's a powerful motivational speaker and everything. And really, isn't that what so many of these, not even just cult leaders, but really like religious leaders in general,
that's
any leader, like that's what it is. It's that passionate speaking ability. So he has it.
Yeah, I totally think so too. I mean, so going with his, I guess, like butting heads with Sarah, where do you think Sarah's gonna lie in this? Do you think she'll end up following Cal's way and, you know, maybe seeing like, oh, he's having an effect, maybe this is the right way to go? Or do you think she might also end up transgressing because she sees, you know, Eddie is her window? She wants to see the world the way he sees it. What do you guys think about that? Which way do you think she'll go?
That's a tough one.
Oh, yeah. I think she's sticking in the religion. That's my prediction.
Okay.
That she'll stay. I think that Cal might change it and warp it a little bit from what she's known. I don't know that Eddie is necessarily gone from it for good. Like, I don't think he is 100% out.
Yeah.
But I think that she will stay the course.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't make a prediction yet because I'm so, you know, conflicted on whether or not Sarah is really completely dedicated to Eddie or if she still has this, feeling for Cal. And I think that might influence her decision in the long run when it comes to the religion and whether or not she wants to stay in it, if she ever finds out that Eddie, is having his doubts, or if she wants to question it as well, if Cal changes things. So I really don't know yet.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I thought it was interesting that it kind of seems like in a way she would instantly choose her religion over Eddie. Like, I mean, she loves him and everything, but her religion is first for sure. Because in the beginning, when she kind of thinks that he might be cheating on her, she's like, no, we have to get back to the path.
Right.
It wasn't even about her being hurt that, that he cheated on her. It wasn't anything like that at all.
Point, yeah.
It was about, him diverting from the path.
Right.
And I thought that was so fascinating. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, she wanted him, right? She wanted to go to that counseling and that like creepy counseling, right? And were you guys struck by that
guy?
It's called an infidelity rehab program.
Yes, IRP. Yeah.
And were you struck by when her father mentioned, "Oh, I've been talking to your counselor. Your mother and I have been talking to your counselor," and it's like,
that's healthy.
Why are they in it? Yeah,
right.
That just there were a couple moments in this show in these first 2 episodes that just genuinely, I guess, gave me that ick feel and creeped me out. Yeah. That was one of them. Like, why is he talking to the counselor?
I know, that's very weird. We see right off the bat that there's a very strong family base in all of this.
Yes.
And I mean, they're sharing, when, what is Eddie's and Sarah's son's name? I keep forgetting. When he's sharing, about his new friend or whatever from school at the table, and right off the bat, all of the community members are sitting there eating and they're trying to tell him, no, you can't go talk to her. And I thought that was interesting because you see how much of an influence all of these people have on each other's decisions at the end of the day.
And I have a question actually for you guys. Speaking of that, when you saw his friend from school open the mailbox and find that other late mortgage payment, did you get the impression she was taking those letters and her mom never even saw them? I felt like something weird was going on.
I don't know what to read from that scene. She had a weird look when she opened the mailbox, but I didn't really go any further with it. I don't know.
That whole storyline for me was a little odd.
Right,
Because I feel like, I mean, first of all, why do you need to go to her house? I mean, that shoebox is clearly mobile, right? You couldn't take those bills to school or what? I'm not sure what's happening there. Because I thought, like, when she was like, you have to come see what's happening, I thought it'd be like a home situation. Some sort of action you need to watch. So I felt like I was a little disappointed when it was like, let me pull out this box for you to look at. So I was kind of like, all right. So that didn't totally sell me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know what I was expecting either, but not that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Hawk will also end up maybe not transgressing, but definitely exploring, his different options now that he's kind of in the position where he can. But I don't think that's what he wanted from the get-go, right? Yeah. I mean, let's see. He's there at their Hawk at the dinner party, and he tries the meat.
Yeah,
what did you guys think of that? I thought that was kind of like a awkward scene. Yes. What did you think?
I don't know. I would think that he would have said no because it's his first time going somewhere like that by himself, and especially because so many of the members were against him going, and really his dad was the only one who supported it. Yeah. So I think he would be scared more than anything, but it was nice to see that he is brave enough to try that, and I know that's going to come into play later on. I mean, we see him talking to his dad after he gets into the fight at school about, what happened. You used to want me to leave school and immediately go take my vows, and now you want me to stay. Obviously he's catching a drift that something might not be right. And so I think he's going to explore that and might come up with his own questions later on. So I really want to see that.
And what did you guys think of when he went home and he wanted to talk to his mom about what had happened, and he ended up not doing that because he overheard them, boom, boom, boom. What did you guys think of that? What did you think his thought process was there? I wasn't totally sure why he made that decision. Any thoughts why,
with the throwing up that came next, I actually thought, is it because of the meat? Because people have been vegetarian for a long time. You can't just suddenly eat meat. Okay. Or was it because of what had happened? Because I thought
I didn't even consider that.
Well, I thought the eating the meat scene showed that the rest of the family had been right, that he shouldn't have gone alone because the peer pressure got to him.
Right.
And I think that's why also a lot of these times with religions that go out and like to convert, they send them in pairs because they know that if you have someone else supporting you, you're going to be less likely to give up or stray from the path or, you know, anything like that. And so I thought that that scene was showing us, okay, here were the girl from school and her mom, and there are two of them able to sort of gang up on him, but I don't think it was quite as mean as ganging up. But I wondered if the vomiting had to do with all of that together.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Totally didn't think of that.
Well, that's good. We all get to think of things in different ways, and that's why we talk about them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely didn't think of the meat. I thought, you know, it made him sick to his stomach, but I thought it was kind of a weird reaction to not want to talk about helping this girl now because of that, you know, or because, you know, he saw an awkward situation. And even after that, his, you know, not relationship, but yeah, the tension with his dad was just, you know, so weird to me, I thought.
And that scene at home, yeah, was definitely, I feel like, one of the creepiest, strangest scenes of both episodes. Yeah, because and he's asking sort of strange personal questions that he explains as, well, we, you know,
That's
talk
what we're
about
taught to
unburdening
do.
ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But it just made for, some awkward, uncomfortable watching.
Yeah.
viewing.
Yeah, I like that you bring that up because I love that they keep bringing in those little like rules or things that they're taught, you know, or like the IRP and all like the little like symbols and things that they use. I think that's great. I think that's, you know, very much makes it seem like a relatable, not relatable, but like
Real.
Tangible.
Like a tangible
world.
world.
I love
Yeah.
that. I was
I love
reading
that.
an article on Variety, actually, and they were talking about how they essentially made up a Bible.
Yes.
Isn't that awesome? So they
fascinating.
have all of their, you know, their beliefs and their terms and all of that. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Okay, and then, I mean, Hawk eventually goes back to school and then he gets beat up. Do you think that's going to be like an ongoing thing for him, or is that now a reason for him to get out of school?
I think he's going to leave.
Yeah.
I think unless the girl can change his mind somehow. And I'm curious to see whether the girl will be interested in the Miairism or if she will,
didn't even think of
you
that.
know, or if she will stray him away from that. So it could go either way. Right now I'm thinking he might just go ahead and want to, you know, leave school and take his vows or whatever he's saying when he's 16.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I couldn't help but think of Big Love through so much of this, and I loved that show about the polygamists, of course. And interestingly, so many of the actors on this show were on Big Love, and there was a storyline in Big Love with the son who had a girlfriend, same thing, and he was the struggle of he wanted to sleep with her, but he knew his religion said he shouldn't. And incidentally, the actress who plays Allison on this show played his girlfriend in Big Love. So, so my point is that I kept thinking of Big Love and that storyline and wondering, okay, now we've got the religious boy, he's starting to possibly question because of the girl, is the girl going to pull him away? So I wondered, same thing, how much of that will that affect his relationship?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Interesting. I mean, okay. I mean, well, thinking of how that affects relationships, what do you think is going to happen with Eddie now going forward? This is the meat of our show, pretty much. It seems like he went on a trip to Peru, and seems like they're making it like this was like a level in the. I don't know what you call that.
I think
the
it's step in the ladder.
I think so.
Ladder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything is like L6, 6R is what they
6R,
called it.
yeah.
Yeah. And I like how when Cal's later talking, he's like, oh, you know, even though you're not an 8R, I still want to hear your thoughts. I'm like, okay, get off your 8R ladder right there, sir. Man. But okay, yeah. So it seems like Eddie came back from Peru, and while he was there, he had it said shaman ayahuasca retreat, right? And so he had some sort of like religious, or not religious, but drug-induced. Yeah, right. They're very similar. The drug-induced experience, where we kind of mentioned it before. He sees his brother, who we find out, I guess, committed suicide when he was younger, and he sees his brother and his brother basically is leading him to the truth, is what he's thinking. So, I mean, what do you guys think is going to happen there? Do you think he will continue to seek out the truth, or is now therapy his way to go?
Yeah, I think he's now looking deeper into, I have to check on names. What is Allison and her husband's story and, you know, what really happened to him in Peru, because we find out that, you know, it's reported that he killed himself, but she's saying that he was murdered because he was questioning, he was transgressing or whatever it's called. So I think once he starts finding out more truth behind that story, he's going to, you know, realize these people are not as good as they appear to be, and maybe I should get out when I can. But again, he's struggling between his own truth and having to leave his family if he does follow that path. And that's always hard. I mean, I don't even know what I would do in that situation. What would you do?
Right.
You know, would you stay with your family, or would you sacrifice all of that to be free from something you truly don't believe in anymore?
And this is what we see also time and time again with, especially I think of like the polygamist culture, and we get these, but I just recently read a book called The Sound of Gravel about a woman who escaped from it. So there are so many of these stories. So it's that same, what do you give up? And
it's fascinating.
It is. And I feel like right now he's clearly choosing family, because he agreed to this like inpatient rehab for 14 days, which he clearly was loath to go to.
Oh my gosh, that scene
was phenomenal.
That was amazing.
So good. I mean, he was obviously in pain, and it just felt like you were with him, like going through it. And the way they also like edited it was beautifully done, because it was way too much to handle for
and
anyone.
that circular, how they shot it in a circle and continuous
Very
circle.
beautifully done.
Yeah, there were a couple scenes that were.
Well, it just reminds me of, you know, things like back in the old times, and certain psychological practices, and like, you know, trying to rewire someone's brain if they're straying from the path. It's just so interesting to me that people still participate in things like this. And, you know, it's just my opinion. I don't know if I could ever do something like that to stay with my family if I truly don't believe in it. But we see that they're his number one priority right now. So.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do.
It's interesting that you bring that up. I like that I mean, not that this has never been an issue before, but very much right now we're seeing such huge generation gaps, you know, between, you know, parents and their kids who, for instance, myself, you know, I was raised Catholic, and
Me too.
And now I'm kind of like,
I just say
it's just like, it's cool.
now.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's, you know, I definitely think we're seeing a lot of this. And it's, like you said, what do you do? You know what I mean? Do you go with your family who you've grown up with, and this is what they think is right? Or do you disappoint them? Or, you know what I mean? Or do you know, stand up for what you believe in? So I think this is where we're getting, like, all the touchy issues.
For sure.
And, I mean, have you ever been in such situations, or is there anything that you can relate to?
I have not been in a situation like this by any means, but like I said, I love those books about polygamy. And every time someone escapes, I read the next bestseller. So I'm very well reversed on people who have escaped polygamy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely haven't looked into polygamy as much, but I think I will now. It sounds pretty fascinating.
Amish.
Yeah.
That's a similar situation where the Amish people have their own communities, and, you know, the teens, I believe, and sorry if I'm wrong, please correct me, but they get a chance to go out and experience the real world, and then they have a chance to decide whether they go back or not.
Right.
It's always a tough decision. I haven't been faced with it, but...
Right. Yeah, I mean, luckily for us, you know, we're able to kind of, you know, just make our decisions and do the best we can. But it's interesting to see that with this cult, it seems like what Allison's saying is that when people leave, they might end up being killed. Is that what you guys think is happening?
If what she's saying is true, then for sure. I mean, we see the people were waiting for her at her grandparents' home. So I don't know if they're really violent. I mean, we see that Cal is violent, so yes, they are, clearly. But that'll be a really interesting twist if people find out about that.
And I think this is echoing Scientology here, because there's this story about the current leader of Scientology whose wife sort of disappeared and hasn't been heard from at all. And what's interesting, you know, Susannah, you mentioned it really briefly at the beginning, that because Scientology tends to have deep pockets and sue a lot, they made sure in this show there's even a line about how they're not Scientologists.
Yes,
so they're doing their best. Right. As much as it seems like Scientology to anyone else, they're doing their best to differentiate between the two.
Yeah, definitely. And bringing that up, I mean, the people that were saying that was, I guess there's now a detective that's working on this. Abe Gaines, he's working on this this case where pretty much he realized that a group of people came in and sort of rescued the people that were in Ringe. Ringe, is that what they called it? The town, the trailer park town?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was in New Hampshire,
Yeah.
but saying that they got there before FEMA.
Right.
I mean, what did you guys think of him? Do you like where he's going with this? Do you think he can take this on?
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to start bringing things to light, and he'll become a target for sure if they catch wind of it. But it was a nice little addition to the story. I'm interested to see how it contributes, but right now it was kind of small. But I know it'll get bigger.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like to see that he's kind of on the outside of this, you know, to have like an outside perspective. Right. Like, okay, so there is, you know, this is our real regular world, you know, that we're dealing with. I kind of think maybe he might... It seemed like maybe in a preview or something, he's starting to look into Mary's father.
Okay.
Did you see that at all?
Yeah, what happened to him.
Exactly.
Yeah. By the way, is Cult Watch a real thing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because
I'm
he
assuming
said,
yes. Right,
you
he
know,
said put
the
them on Cult
refugees
Watch.
Cult Watch. So I'm wondering if that's a real thing.
My guess is it is a real thing. I felt like it was a little too soon to introduce the police detectives. I think it's realistic. And yeah, the Cult Watch, I love that term. But I felt like maybe another episode down the line where we see them starting to grow more. I just felt like they were thrown in there a little hastily.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see his character like going through and kind of getting into the nitty gritty of it. But yeah, I sort of agree with you that maybe it was a little early for the second episode for him to come in. All right, I mean, what else did we not cover?
There was a lot, but I think
there's so much in this.
to it.
Yeah,
for
there's
2
so
episodes.
much in this. All right, I mean, I know we kind of talked about a lot of predictions already because this is our first episode, but maybe if we have some more predictions to go over.
Sure.
Your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say that Hawk's friend from school will play a role in his decision on whether or not to continue with Miarism or not. So it's a general one, but we're early.
Yeah. I know, yeah. It's so early. It's hard to be like, oh, this specific thing's going to happen. But yeah.
I feel like I've thrown out so many predictions.
I know, yeah,
like
me
right,
too.
left, and center. I'm like, what else is there? But I think my overall theme of the show predictions are that Cal will gain power. I think that Sarah will have to decide if she likes the direction he's going. But I also think he's going to... My big prediction, I guess, is that he will stop focusing on Sarah as his big love, and his big love will now be Miarism.
Yeah, I like that. I totally agree with that. I think he's going after the power. I kind of think that Eddie, like I said before, Eddie might transgress a little more, and that I don't know why I'm hoping for it, but I kind of want him to bring Sarah with him and maybe bring his family with him, and you know, get them out of there. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
And speaking of transgression, we didn't talk about this at all. How he lied about the woman that he had the affair with, and then they took her.
Yes,
That's crazy.
Creepy.
Yes.
They just took her, snatched her. So
yeah,
I'm sure
and
we'll
that
see
was
more
so
about that
quick
next week.
too.
Yeah.
At first I was like, wait, who was that? You know, I had to go back and like skip back and watch it. I forgot her name.
Minka
Miranda
Kelly is the
Frank.
actress. Yes,
Yeah, okay,
Miranda
Miranda,
Frank.
yes. Yeah, that was so subtle and really quick. But yeah, I can't wait to see
So
where that
same here.
goes.
Yeah.
Ugh, creepy. So creepy. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us on our very first episode, our very first after show for The Path on Hulu. Thank you so much. Once again, I'm Susannah Kim. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Susanna_Kim, SUSANNAH. Tell us where they can find you guys.
You can find me as Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's ZOE Said What. You can also find me on YouTube at Zoe Hewitt Hosting, where I do a weekly movie analysis show.
Awesome. And I'm Miaira Jennings. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings and youtube.com/Miaira Jennings TV.
Awesome. If you guys enjoyed the show, please take a second to like our video, follow us, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.